Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and a big warm hello to my subscribers. I love you guys. Today I am crafting you some treasures from actual trash, real garbage. It's been a long time and I thought it would be fun to do some seriously free DIYs, and as always I hope you enjoy the show. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. For this DIY, I used some scrap wood, but you could easily use layers of cardboard for this particular DIY. You're going to need some foil. The first thing that I did was trace out the shape of a leaf. Now I thought this looked kind of like a palm leaf, but it actually could be any leaf. But this is a craft that gives you a lot of opportunity to be extremely creative and have fun. For example, if you were doing a coastal decor theme, you could easily draw a shell and change up your colors to blues and aquamarines. There's a lot of opportunity here for variety, so just have fun with it. After you're done drawing whatever shape you choose, take your hot glue and trace those patterns in pencil. It's like a template, I guess. Trace your template with hot glue like you see me doing here. I'm just going to cover all of those pencil marks now with hot glue. This doesn't have to be perfect either. In fact, that's kind of the name of the game here. This is a very textured craft, so don't stress if you've got like bubbles or lumps in your hot glue. You're not going to see it at all. Shout out to Casey at Coffee with My Sunshine. I also watch craft videos when I craft sometimes because they're very relaxing and I love watching them too. And her video came up and I saw her do this, and I think she was experimenting with texture, she said in that video, but the final result came out so high-end. She did not give herself enough credit. It was absolutely gorgeous and I could not wait to try it. So if you haven't checked out her channel, please do. She really is kind of leading the charge here with the trash to treasure videos. I mean real trash, where she takes recycled items and items from outside. A lot of free crafting in her videos, and I think she's absolutely fantastic, so be sure to check her out. So she said just to use regular glue, and it is just fine. I'm using Dollar Tree glue, in fact, Dollar Tree school glue. And you can see I'm just covering up the wood with the glue. And I'm kind of, when I'm gluing the foil down, pressing gently around where I do the hot glue to make sure that design pops. So don't press too hard because you don't want to totally flatten out your foil, but at the same time, you definitely want those designs to, pop out for the next step when everything's dry. So this is kind of like a paper mache craft, only instead of gluing little pieces of paper down, you're doing it with foil. And you can see there I'm putting glue on top of the foil if I have to overlap. So just make sure that you're generous with your glue. Use lots of glue. You're going to need it on the sides, on the top, anywhere there isn't any glue, where the foil meets the foil, everywhere. And most importantly, have fun. So you're going to see me here in a minute use a little square. There I go. And I'm crinkling it up this way. I'm kind of crunching it. That turns out to be a much better way to do it. The foil doesn't get as tight, I guess. It doesn't get knotted up. It's really hard to undo if you do it in big pieces. So keep it smaller and just go about covering the entire piece of wood. Now, I was almost going to use cardboard. I just didn't have enough right now, but you could easily glue about 4 sheets of cardboard together, or 5, or make it as thick as you want. Because the sides are covered, nobody's going to know what that canvas is under there. So this is a great craft for recycling those Amazon boxes that you guys were asking me what you could do with. So I decided to take a final layer of Mod Podge and put it on the top just to make sure all of those foil pieces stick down, because I don't want them getting loose. She didn't do this. I don't think you have to. I was just a little worried because I'm gifting this to somebody, so I didn't want them to come up. The next step is to take a sponge, a regular sponge. I found that kind of holds more paint and it gets down in the grooves of the foil better. And I'm using the color Territorial Beige here from Apple Barrel Paint, and I'm just covering the whole thing. Now, I'm doing a color blend on this piece. I decided to do that. You don't have to. I just wanted to do kind of, Casey did two different crafts, so I wanted to do both of them in one, if that makes sense. I wanted to combine it because I liked the looks of both and I couldn't decide. So in the end I thought, well, I'm just going to do both. So now I'm taking the color Nutmeg from Apple Barrel and I'm putting that on the top. And this is a color called Terracotta. It's from another company. They don't even make that paint anymore, but you can use whatever browns you want. You could see there how I took my paintbrush and turned it sideways and kind of streaked the paint into the other paint. I believe Casey left hers dry. I wanted mine to blend a little more, so I left mine wet. I don't think it matters. I think if it's dry, you'll have a more pronounced color blend. If it's wet, you'll have more of a muted blending effect between the colors, which is what I was going for. And also, don't worry if a little bit of foil is showing, because at the end, when you're done with all your color blending and everything's finished, the foil doesn't show anymore. So you saw me take khaki there from Apple Barrel paint and tap the top of that leaf just to bring out the design. And I didn't want it to be so light. Around, I guess, towards the edges there, you can see that I'm touching it up and covering that khaki up just a little bit. And you just use the original colors. Some of them dry even darker because it's like 2 layers of paint, and it just gives it more texture and more dimension. It is an absolutely gorgeous craft. I hope the camera does it justice. It looks almost like leather, so high-end looking. I absolutely love this. So my sister loves this milk. I decided to try it, but my husband actually washed it out for me because he said, that's an absolutely beautiful container. And I said, you're right. So I took this and I cut it out at the top here just to get rid of that lid. And I'm using a Dollar Tree craft knife. I think it comes with 6 or 8 blades. I can't remember, but more than one blade, and it is amazingly sharp. Thank you for all the suggestions you came on and told me about to buy a craft knife. I haven't had a chance yet. So when I was in the Dollar Tree a month ago, I grabbed this and it was shockingly sharp. It's sharper than the one I spent $16 on from Walmart. So if you see one of those craft little knives, make sure you pick them up. It's a great deal. Now I'm taking my glue gun here to gently melt the edge to make it curl inwards so that it doesn't look like a plastic container. And now I'm taking some cuticle clippers just to clip off any unevenness. And, you're just going about making it as even and perfect as you can so it doesn't look like a plastic bottle. And this is what it should look like when you're all done. I took it outside to give it a coat of paint and primer so that everything I paint from this point on will actually stick. And now I'm taking some hot glue on low temperature and making some downward lines. Now I'm going to show you the 3 different looks I get in case some of you like it, just to give you extra ideas, but this isn't actually what I end up doing. And by the way, you can also use an iron to melt the top of this container as well. I didn't want to take mine out, but I've seen people do that where they turn the iron on high and just press it down. You'll get more of an even result, I think. And now I'm using that color Terracotta in the paint that is no longer in, they don't make it anymore, but you can use any color you want. It was a brown and black idea. I thought, oh, I'll paint the top and bottom, like this, and then dry brush a little bit, and I thought that was kind of pretty, but I didn't like it. It still looked like plastic. So I decided to paint the whole thing black because black is always high end, right? And this is going to be outside. So I thought, well, we can't leave the glue on there because with the changes of humidity and heat and cold, I was worried the glue would, disengage and be flapping in the wind there, and it would be really embarrassing. And now this is the look we end up with, and I still don't like it. It's a nice look, but it's just not what I was going for. So I put some gold on it, and I definitely don't like it. This doesn't match my decor style at all. So I go back and I'm doing something completely different. I'm putting just a little bit more primer on there to make sure my next process sticks, and I want to try and cover up all of the little grooves and lines from the, I guess, you know, when I peeled the glue off, it lifted some of the paint here and there. So I'm just kind of adding a little extra layer just to get it more even, I guess, for the next process, but I probably didn't really need to do that. I wanted a color that was brown with a bit of maroon in it. So when I mixed paints and I finally got the color I was after, I went ahead and added some baking soda because I'm definitely going to have to add texture. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me because I was holding it and I knew it was plastic, but it just still, to me, and I'd love to hear that in the comments below. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but it still looked like plastic even when I spray painted it, and I just wasn't happy with that. I wanted it to look expensive. So now I'm texturing it with a very thick baking soda paint mix, and I took the same color, added a bit of white paint, and we're going to put it on the top and bottom, and we're going to kind of do that color blend again, but with the dark color and the light color, and we end up with an absolutely beautiful result. Lots of texture, and you definitely cannot tell it's plastic. I'm totally pleased with how this turns out. So this is my inspiration piece I saw online. It's a little small side table and it's $199. I used 2 coffee cans and an old Frisbee lid that I was going to throw away from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some pool noodles, but it would have actually been better to use paper towel holders, or the center of the, not a holder, I'm sorry, the center of the paper towel like these. But I wanted to do this craft to show you guys how it looks, even though I didn't have enough of the paper towel centers, or you could use foil centers. They just all have to be uniform size. And you also could use a stovetop cover from the Dollar Tree. They're only 50 cents each because you get 2 for $1. You can also use a lid to an old cookie tin. I mean, just be creative and have fun with this one, but you're going to need a top for the top of the little table there. I'm kind of aiming more to make a planter with mine, or you could use it for a little table, but I decided it looks really cute as a planter. So we're starting off measuring those pool noodles and then cutting them down to size. And now I'm going to cut them in half. I started off by thinking I was going to keep them whole, but they were just too big and too round and clunky looking. This is why I say the paper towel rolls would have looked better. Make sure they're the sturdy kind of paper towel, cardboard centers there, because I think if they're too thin, they might bend. So you want those nice strong ones that you get with the higher end paper towels. But I held up, I had about 5 and I held them up and it looked better. So we work with what we have, but it turns out beautiful regardless. So I end up cutting these in half, and I'm going to go ahead and glue them around the coffee can. Again, I just used regular old Dollar Tree school glue. It worked just fine, and I deliberately left the paper on because that paper is glued on really strong, and that was a better surface for my little pool noodle to stick to. And I'm just going about gluing them on. I do go and get a hairband to put around the coffee cans because I realize that since I'm using wet glue, it's going to need time to dry. Now, if you use the center of a paper towel, like this I showed you in the beginning, those little cardboard things, you could use hot glue, but you can't really do it with these foam pool noodles, I was too worried they would melt, and if they were to change shape at all or kind of like have a dent and kind of cave in a little bit, it would ruin the entire craft. So just to be extra careful, I used cold glue for this. And I do end up putting a rubber band on the top and on the bottom. You can see it there. They leave marks, like little indentations, but they look really cool. They look like a factory etching, so it just makes it look more expensive and high end. I was pleased with that. But if it didn't have that, you guys, if you use a paper towel and you don't get that little edging, that's fine. It still would look good. It's just, in other words, I wasn't upset about it. It all worked out fine. And now I'm taking the Kilz Primer KILZ, and I'm going to give these pool noodles 2 thick coats. I wanted to let you know, after you paint the pool noodles with 2 coats, they come up really strong and stiff and sturdy and kind of dry looking like concrete, which was a wonderful thing. Make sure you use a latex paint though. I wouldn't recommend just acrylic craft paint. I'm showing you the Frisbee I spray painted with some paint and primer, and again I'm using cold glue after I trimmed the pool noodles at the top so it's nice and even, and this came up absolutely gorgeous. I wanted to take a moment here to talk about something called the Community tab here on YouTube. It's that little tab there on my page. I'm circling it. It says Community. If you click on it, that's where I leave. It's almost like the town square where I can kind of stand and scream out a message to you. A lot of you were worried because I was a day late when I didn't upload, and I wanted to let you know this is where I'll let you know if there's something happening, if I'm going to be late or if I have a collaboration. Sometimes I will switch my days that I upload, but if you look for me on Sundays and you don't find me, and by the way, my other favorite day to post is Thursdays, but if you look for me and you don't find me, check out this little community post area here, and I will leave a message to let you know what's going on and when you can expect my next video. Now here's the Dollar Tree hors d'oeuvre tray that I threw in as an extra here because it's something that I find is internationally available in discount stores and pound shops in the UK. I've seen it there, and I was going to throw it away, and I thought, Holly, let's see if you could do something beautiful with this, and you're going to have to let me know in the comments if I succeeded or not, but we're going for it. So the first thing I do is take the color Country Tan from Apple Barrel Paint, and I'm going to paint the inside little, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm kind of focusing on this, or seeing this piece kind of like a window box. So the edges are going to be my frames, and the recessed areas are going to be the little areas where you can put a decor piece or imagery. And you know, I'm just highlighting that now basically. And I do take and highlight everything with this color, even though I end up going over it in a bit. I just wanted to show you each and every step I do here. And I'm just using a dry brushing method here to put some white everywhere. For me, I wanted to make this look kind of soft and romantic. You could take this in different directions. If you have like a beach theme in your home, maybe you could also turn this, I mean, you could definitely do it with different colors and then add some kind of like seashells in the center, or decorate it with the little colored rocks that they have at the Dollar Tree. You know, sky's the limit. I always say have fun with your crafts. That's the main purpose really of crafting, is that you have fun. Secondary, you're going to end up with some beautiful home decor. So now I'm taking the color Burnt Umber because I decide that I really want to bring out those, faux, I guess, frames here to make it look more like a window box. And because there's a steep like curve around the sides, when I hung this on the wall, I realized you could see too much plastic. So you either have to paint the back, or you can also use some nautical rope and just go around and around on the back where that shows. That would be a really pretty look. When I was done with this, I actually thought this would be a really pretty look for a boho type house that kind of has a lot of the macrame, crochet, and like island stuff, like Hawaiian stuff, kind of leaves, that kind of thing, with lots of browns and taupes. I thought that would look really, really pretty if it's just maybe in a hallway or a bathroom, just an accent piece, nothing major. But I take and I dry brush everywhere with white paint. And the second color you saw me use, or third color, sorry, is, on the inner sides there that looks a little yellowish, is the khaki from Apple Barrel Paint. And so now I'm using the burnt umber again, because after I dry brush the white, it starts covering it up, and I wanted to make sure those look like frames. So I'm using these Dollar Tree flowers. I don't know what kind of flowers these are. If someone does, please tell me in the comments. But I think those will be really pretty in there. But I'm looking at this thinking, Holly, you're not hitting the high-end mark yet, or at least, like the, where someone looks at something and goes, oh, that's pretty. I thought, no, that looks cheap. Leaves have to go. The leaves didn't look good. And the stems have to be disguised. So I start by taking the Dollar Tree twine and just wrapping up those stems. And then I close them off with a little glue, and I use a little glue to glue them down. And you can add some twine leaves or some nautical rope, like I said, around the back side. But I actually think this came up as a pretty cute wall decor piece. I'd love to know what you think. This is my inspiration piece on anthropology, and it is an inspiration piece, so it's not a dupe. Dupe is short for duplicate, so I don't show it at the end because I want you guys just to get the feel for what I'm going for. I liked the colors, I liked the height, and when I was looking at high-end decor online, I saw there were other versions of this. Some bottles are tall, and some have tall, like, spouts, or I'm not sure what that's called, but like the part on the top. So it got my creative juices flowing, you guys. So I used 3 different kinds of bottles in different shapes and sizes. And I'm using rolls here now that are from the center of like a heavyweight foil. These are super, super thick ones, the kind that you could actually hurt someone when you hit them. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like it was hard to cut even with a brand new craft knife. I had to saw and saw. They are super thick. You'll see it when they stand up. They're not flimsy. And the trick is they have to fit over the top of the bottle perfectly when you press it down to the base. So I start off by measuring them, and of course I'm making them in cascading heights with tall, medium, and short. And I'm using joint compound to join these two things together. On all of the bottles, I'm going to join that cardboard piece down to the bottle and make it look like it's one connected piece. And yes, you can use spackling for this craft as well. It's just I have some joint compound I haven't used in a while, and I thought it would be nice to use it up. This is the next day when it's dried, and I just lightly, ever so lightly, just sand off any areas that are sticking up that look fake. And I did have some cracking just on the small one, no big deal. For this one, because I wanted it to dry quicker, I did use spackling and I just filled it in, and we are good to go. since this is glass, I am using the Kilz primer again, Kilz, and I do need 2 coats of this primer on each of the bottles. I decide to go ahead and use the color Granite Gray by Apple Barrel Paint here to cover the entire bottles up. Now you'll notice I didn't use primer on top of the backling or joint compound, either one. It wasn't necessary because I knew the paint was going to adhere, but I thought that this would be a good base color to kind of get the look going that I wanted. And it's not going to be exactly like I said, it's not going to be exactly like the Anthropology piece. It's more with the Anthropology piece, I liked the color blend or color combos. I liked the heights, you know, how they were cascading. I liked that part. So here I am mixing up some white acrylic paint with a little bit of water because the look I'm going for is a streaky look. So I knew if I mixed my paint up with a little bit of water, I would get where it kind of trickled down in rivets almost and gave me a look that would help, I guess, as an under. I've explained in previous videos, it's usually many different processes, or at least more than one process to get a look that you're going for. So I knew I needed my base color to kind of have a look and dimension of its own when I go to do the next step, so that it gives more dimension to that step, if that makes sense. And it just adds to the whole final look, and that's what makes your crafts look really, really high end. So now I'm taking a sponge and I'm cutting 3 different sponges in 3 different shapes here, and this is so I can sponge my colors on. So now I'm using Pewter Gray from Apple Barrel Paint, and these are all Apple Barrel Paint except for the terracotta color from the company that is now out of business, but you can use any color combination you want. I'm making this for my daughter's home because they have a coastal beach. You know, we live by the beach, and they kind of have this boho coastal beach thing going on in their home, and I knew that these bottles would look absolutely gorgeous on her mantle, so that's what I'm going for. But you of course can use any color combination you want. The next color I choose is just a Granite Gray. I believe that's what that's called, but any gray would do. And again, I'm color washing. I'm tapping this on, and you can see me kind of going up and down into the other colors on purpose. And then you'll see me take the sponge and kind of drag it down too, so that you get those streaks. There I go. This is something that you're just playing with and kind of making all the colors blend in, and it's definitely uneven. There is no right or wrong here. You just do it by eye, and you keep messing around with it until you get the look you like. And if you don't like it, you can always paint it again and start over. Just have fun. So now I'm using the color Gray again, the first color that I painted, the very first one. And I'm adding white to it because, as you can see there, the blue that I used, I have a blue that's kind of like that coastal blue from Waverly, but I just felt it was like a little too dark for the color I was going, so I used a gray blue color, added white to it, and we're just doing the color blending again. And I took a baby wipe to blend it upwards and downwards, because as these colors go up, I want them to be lighter and softer and very, very muted and blended. So you can see the bottom is very textured. Then we have the blended gray, we have the blended terracotta color, and then the soft blue that kind of goes up into a light gray. And I didn't show you on the top lid, I also did the same thing, blending downwards with the that was a pewter gray right there. And then I'm taking an iridescent pearlescent silver paint by Folk Art, and I'm going over the entire thing with that silver paint to make it iridescent at the end here. You'll see me do it. The camera's not picking it up so well here. I'm trying to show you how it's shiny now and iridescent, but that's what I do to the top stems to make them look really, really high end. Last but not least, I used a gray color to paint the insides of the tops. I took all 3 bottles outside and painted it in a glossy finish, 2 coats so that they look like ceramic, but this craft came up absolutely stunning, and I hope the camera does it justice. If you enjoyed today's video and had fun, don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up. It is so fun seeing you all every week. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for watching. And as always, until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.